السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب زدنا علما، رب زدنا علما، رب زدنا علما نافعا. آمين. We are in the political thinking, a very important component of the Islamic worldview. And we were discussing about the realpolitik. When a political thinker or a politician has to compromise between the ideal and utopian principles of politics and the reality. And to understand this mas'ala, we engaged in a brief comparison between a very important Western and Muslim political thinker, Niccolo Machiavelli, and Imam al-Haramain, al-Juwayni, rahimahullah. Machiavelli compiled two important works to explain this issue: The Prince and the Discourses. Imam al-Haramain al-Juwayni, rahimahullah, he explained this mas'ala in many works of fiqh, but the most prominent and the most important is his work Ghiyathul Umam fi Tiyathi Dhulam, which is known as al-Ghiyathi in brief. He compiled this book for a very influential Saljuki wazir, Nizamul Mulk. And we have talked about that. We were discussing about this compromise between the political reality and the ideal utopian political goals and principles, and the role of religion and morality in this compromise. We said, according to Machiavelli, religion and morality is ideal morality or individual morality is a hurdle in the path of stable government and governance, or a stable state. And in the discussion about the purpose of politics, we also talked about the shift which happened from the medieval ages in the Western thought, antiquity and medieval age, in which the West adopted Christianity as its religion. The shift which happened to the Renaissance. And Machiavelli is also a thinker who paved the way for Renaissance. So according to him, Christian ethics is incompatible with stable governance. And a good state is a stable state. So he is only concerned about the stability, physical stability, apparent stability of a government, of a state. So the only purpose of politics, according to Machiavelli, is gaining power and maintaining it for the stability of a state. And in this process, morality takes a backseat. Religion, particularly the Christian religion, because he was only exposed to the Christian religion experience, the church, Christian authority. So according to him, Christian morality, Christian ethics, Christian religion is a hurdle in the path of stable state. And the morality must be redefined. So we were talking about the moral question and the position of religion in this discussion. So a ruler or the political authority must learn to take the difficult decisions. Difficult decisions in politics. In common language, we call it difficult decisions. The compromise which happens, difficult decisions. Or we can also call it ethical trade-offs. Ethical trade-offs. The ruler must learn to take difficult decisions, or the advisors of these rulers, the political thinkers, must engage in ethical trade-offs in which they compromise morality or redefine it. Because we also said, according to Machiavelli, the real morality is the morality of the ruler. Whatever he does will define the morality. So the ruler, if he wants to be successful in statecraft and creating stability in particular, which is the purpose of politics according to Machiavelli, he has to learn the art of compromise, which we called here ethical trade-offs. Of course, these principles cannot be adopted in Islamic worldview of the political system, because religion plays a very important role in our political thinking. We cannot compromise on religion and morality. However, the question of real politics still remains. And in our history, our political thinkers have engaged in this compromise at a lower level, or we can say in a balanced manner. Because Machiavelli can sacrifice religion and morality for the sake of stability. We cannot sacrifice the morality and Islam for the sake of stability. However, we have to make sure that in maintaining our religion and morality, we can achieve the concrete political goals on ground. If we are not successful in that, religion and morality will not help us. So as we said, for the West, particularly Machiavelli here, religion and morality is a hurdle. And for us, it is the main catalyst. But we have to balance between religion, morality, and the actual statecraft, which happens on ground, or realpolitik. We have to create a balance in this compromise. So the main question, if we say it in a simplistic manner, the main question of politics is, can we create a balance between effectiveness and niceness? Can we create a balance between realpolitik, application, stability, material success, power, and morality, religion, higher goals? This is the question. And this is the main foundation around which whole political thinking revolves in all political traditions. Take the example of our age. Have a look at the Muslim world. Muslim world is weak. It is disunited. Some states are loyal to the West. Some other countries follow their interests wherever they find it. They go to that bloc. Take the example of Taliban, which has recently come into power. How they are negotiating with the Chinese government. in spite of the fact the Chinese government is oppressing the Uyghur Muslims, destroying the masajid. Now, we know the loyalty of Taliban to religion. They engaged in jihad for 40 years, and they did not compromise their religion. The Talibani government is a conservative religious government. Everyone knows that. This does not need any discussion. But in spite of that, they are forced to engage with their neighbors. They cannot exist in vacuum. Globalization has been thrusted upon us. We cannot exist in vacuum. So Taliban, Afghanistan, has neighbors. And the government has to deal with these neighbors. It has to come with terms in engagement with these neighbors. So either it falls into the American bloc or the opposite, the Chinese bloc. I'm not saying they have fallen into the Chinese bloc, but we see they are opening their country for Chinese investment. In spite of the fact the Chinese government is not our friend. This is happening because we don't have our own bloc. Muslim Ummah is not united. So when we are not united, we have to compromise. We cannot establish the ideal and the utopian principles which we have. It is impossible. So if you try to do that, you will even lose what you have. You will lose what small regimes you have, which may in future become the best ideal governments of the Muslim Ummah. So we have seen this unity about this unity about the Palestinian conflict. It has been more than 2 months, and now the Israeli government has resorted to violence and oppression again after this truce, and nothing is happening. In the Muslim countries, maybe few countries are concerned and they are serious, but unless we have a regional alliance, united alliance, we cannot do anything. One country cannot do anything. So these ethical trade-offs happen. Practicality is important. That's why I said, if you remember, in political analysis, don't take any political analyst seriously unless he has engaged in politics himself. We can listen to political analysts, we can increase our knowledge. But realpolitik is completely different from what we read in books and what we conclude based on the news which reaches us. So we may take a position about the Turkish diplomacy or Turkish politics based on the news which is reaching us, based on the statements of the politicians, Erdogan, Hakan Fidan, and others. But what is really happening inside, we don't know, the realpolitik. So unless a person who wants to contribute in this field engages in realpolitik, he is near to the government, he is involved in real politics, he cannot give the correct opinion, or his opinion does not have good value. Take the example of these scholars in the East and the West. They engaged in real politics, like Imam al-Juwayni, rahimahullah. He engaged, he was advisor of the Wazir, Nizam al-Mulk, who served the Seljuki government. So he was a politician at the same time. Okay. That's why he applied the realpolitik in his book, al-Ghiyathi, and he compromised on many issues, which before him were considered the ideal principles of Islamic political thinking. Now, coming back to Machiavelli, what is the methodology? Because methodology, manhajiyya, is always important in thinking and application. What is the method? What is the methodology of Machiavelli. We can summarize it in one word, which is ahistorical anthropology. Ahistorical anthropology. Ahistorical anthropology. What does it mean? Ahistorical anthropology is a manhaj, a method to view history of mankind, particularly the political history, in a certain fashion in which the political thinker believes that the qualities of human beings in history who are engaged in the political process never change. There is no change which occurs. History repeats itself. So that's why we called it ahistorical, or it's called ahistorical anthropology. Okay, because Machiavelli, according to this method, Machiavelli was not well equipped to grasp deeper socio-historical changes, because he does not believe in deeper socio-historical changes. He believes in a linear equation which happened in history, which is based on a particular understanding of human nature. So ahistorical anthropology means human nature is unchangeable. Human nature is unchangeable. Human is unchangeable. Or, in other words, human nature is evil or egotistic. One of the main qualities in explaining the morality or the moral question, one of the main qualities on which Machiavelli emphasized is ego of human beings. So he says a ruler must assume that human beings are evil. A ruler must assume that human beings by their nature are evil. And he must work to maintain stability in the clash of egos between human beings. Okay, so this is the vision. That's why his political theory has been also used in psychology. See how a particular thinker bases his understanding in a particular field on the conclusion of different realities or different fields of knowledge. So he's talking about politics, but in this he based it on a particular view about human nature, which does not, understanding human nature has nothing to do with political science. Okay, that's why we say every human being has aqidah. Don't think this idea of objectivity or the dream of objectivity which the Western authors talk about is impossible. You will not find any author who is ideally objective. There will be biases. There are always cognitive biases. A Christian author will have bias towards Christianity. A Muslim author, of course, he will have bias towards Islam. And in his explanation of a particular theory or field, this bias will play a role. We're not talking about what is truth and what is falsehood. We're just explaining a fact. So don't think we can have thinkers who are unbiased, who are completely objective. This myth of objectivity does not exist. So he says human beings are basically evil. And this was a shift from, listen carefully, because we are explaining, in these words, we are summarizing the intellectual history of the West. Yani this was a shift from the antiquity, medieval age to Renaissance. A shift from community-based understanding to individualism. Individualism is a very important philosophy of the modern age. Okay, because in the Middle Ages, it was largely taken for granted that there was an objective natural law providing the norm for good and right. And this applied also to kings and emperors. So there was a natural law, it was taken for granted, which would provide the norm for good and right. It would apply to common masses and to kings. There were limits for displays of power, and society was viewed as a large community having mutual duties in order to satisfy human needs. So community-based understanding in the medieval ages. It is true that there were different estates, and it is true that some people were poor and others wealthy. This is natural to all human societies. But society was generally viewed as a community based on a mutual contract. Mutual contract, mutual duties, responsibilities. Individualism as a philosophy was not there. And it was society that was sovereign, not the head of state. Society was sovereign, not the head of state, one person. Man was considered a moral and religious creature, because Christianity was the religion of the medieval ages in the West. Ultimately, the state's task was moral. So the task of the state was moral in its nature, because man was considered a moral and religious creature who lived in a society with mutual rights and contract. So this was the principle on which medieval societies were based. But there happened a shift in the Renaissance. Individualism happened. Roughly, we may say that at the same time that the centralized state power was being strengthened in the late Renaissance, human beings were again becoming individualized. Just as in the transition from the city-state to the empire, it was not the community but the individual that was the starting point in the Renaissance. And the individual was usually understood as being egotistic. Ego. To prevent this conflict, a strong ruler with unrestricted power was needed. In other words, we have a division between isolated individuals and the state's absolute power. But in the late Renaissance, individualism was often grounded biologically and materialistically. And the state's absolute power lay in the hands of one person, who was the monarch of a national state and not of a cosmopolitan empire. Individualism has its own details. It's a philosophy. So this is the idea on which Machiavelli based his political thinking. Machiavelli lived during the transition from the Middle Ages to early modern times. His conception of being a citizen was closely related to certain points of view in the Middle Ages. Honor and fame were fundamental. Yani, he did not completely disconnect, because when this transition happens, new values may fuel, old values may fuel new ideas or may transform, but some things remain. The remnants remain. For example, honor and fame were fundamental. So a ruler must then assume that human beings are evil. A ruler must be hard and cynical to secure the state and thus the life and property of people. The state is founded on the individual's need for protection against the aggression of others. Without enforcement of the law, there is anarchy. Therefore, a strong ruler is needed to provide security for the people. You see, this idea of people being evil, if we don't have a strong ruler who rules by an iron fist, there will be anarchy, because people are egotistic in nature. They have this ego, and if we don't have a strong ruler, there will be destruction. Even though human beings are always egotistic, there are various degrees of corruption. Machiavelli deals with good and bad states and with good and bad citizens. And he's interested in the precise conditions that make a good society and good citizens possible. Good states are those which maintain a balance among the different egotistic interests and which are thus stable, creating balance in this clash of egos. Bad states are those in which the egotistic interests are in open conflict. And the good citizen is the patriotic and combative subject. In other words, the good state is the stable state, which we explained. The end in politics is not the good life. Listen to this. The end in politics is not the good life, as in ancient Greece or in the Middle Ages, but simply to gain and retain power and thereby maintain stability. Everything else is a means, including morality and religion. So this idea of the human nature being unchangeable and evil in principle, we may call it ahistorical anthropology, because it ignores the deeper socio-historical changes which happen in the history, which happen in human societies, and basing the solutions to the human problems on this understanding, deeper understanding of socio-historical changes, yani the deeper changes which happen in the social structure, society, and in history. It is ignored in Machiavellian political thought. Okay, so Machiavelli is mostly interested in the purely political gain. He has relatively little understanding of the economic conditions needed for exercising power. Moreover, he had an ahistorical anthropology, which is human nature is unchangeable. Therefore, we can learn to master the political situations in our day by studying those of previous ages. And he says this in Discourses, his second important book. We may therefore, to a great extent, have a timeless political science where the purpose is not to understand the essence of politics, but to learn to gain power. This is to say, Machiavelli's method is ahistorical in our terms. But viewed from his day, Machiavelli was thinking historically like the humanists who wrote history based on examples, individual stories used to explain his own times. And this is completely different from the early masters of the Western civilization, like Aristotle himself. Aristotle viewed ethics and politics as a unit, which was praxis. Machiavelli distinguished between ethics and politics, and in politics, the end justifies the means. So the goal is ultimately to maintain peace and order. Aristotle assumed universal norms and a constitutional form of government. Machiavelli allowed the prince's will to define law and morality. But the final end is given, political stability. Okay, so this is the problem in the methodology of Machiavelli, a historical anthropology. We know anthropology is the field of philosophy which deals with understanding human nature, culture, so on and so forth. And we also talked about the morality in this context. We said morality is only the prince's will. Why? Because human beings are evil in nature. And this takes us to the discussion which was undertaken by our scholars also, particularly those who wrote about ethics, ilm al-akhlaq. Ethics is a very important branch of philosophy in the Western thought also, particularly antiquity, the early Western philosophers. Our scholars have also contributed to this field. For example, Risalatul Akhlaq of al-Imam al-Iji, who was a great mutakallim, theologian, philosopher, is a very beautiful treatise, brief treatise about ethics, the akhlaq. And in that, and those who have explained this treatise, like Imam Tash Kubrizada, who was a great Turkish scholar, in the beginning he discusses this important question of the nature of human beings and the possibility of changing the akhlaq of human beings. And he says there is ikhtilaf in this mas'ala. There were scholars of ethics, both Muslims and non-Muslims, who believe that ethics cannot be changed. Nature of a human being is unchangeable. And he, of course, refutes this idea because it is against the religion itself. Because religion has come to create a change in human personality. So if you say the nature in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, the qualities with which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us and we have come into this dunya are unchangeable, what is the purpose of religion? What is the purpose of sending the prophets? What is the purpose of these great, noble people who take this responsibility of creating a change between human beings? So this discussion is present also in our books. Okay, so the main point here is that according to Machiavelli, human nature is unchangeable. So we can learn from the historical patterns about the political realities, because it will never change. Human nature is unchangeable, and we can apply that understanding in our times. And also, a human being is egotistic. Ego is the main quality which he has, and the purpose of politics is to create a stable government which is based on or founded on the balance in this clash of egos. And this is the summary. Otherwise, there will be anarchy. The prince wants to create a stable state, gain power, and retain it. And it is implicit in Machiavelli's thought that this is the only way to protect the citizens against mutual aggression. Given that human beings are fundamentally egoistic, and given that morality is nothing more than the prince's will, the accusations of a double standard dissolve. On the other hand, the distinction between private morality and public morality may be said to indicate a certain political realism. We have talked about that. Okay, so this is, in brief, the Realpolitik of Niccolo Machiavelli. Now, coming to al-Imam al-Juwayni, we said all political thinkers eventually and politicians have to apply this Realpolitik, a compromise. But now it will depend on the allegiance and affiliation of a scholar. So we have a scholar like a political thinker like Imam al-Juwayni, who is a Muslim. He's not an atheist. His affiliation is to a very important religion and religious tradition and legacy. So he believes in morality. That's why in this compromise, in his work al-Ghiyathi, Ghiyath al-Umam, Tiyath al-Dhulam, he engages in Realpolitik, but trying to maintain a balance between religion, morality, and the political reality. We said he has based this work on 3 arkan, 3 pillars. The first rukun is a general explanation of the political system in Islam. The qualities of a leader, ruler, his ministers, the political hierarchy, which is common between this book and other works compiled on this subject, like the works of Imam al-Mawardi and others, Imam al-Ghazali, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, rahmatullahi ala al-Jami'. However, he does not, in the Muqaddimah, he does not call this first rukun as the main purpose of his work. He says, I compiled this first rukun, first pillar, as a foundation for the second and the third pillar. The second and the third pillar is the purpose of compiling this work. Second pillar deals with the absence of political authority. If there comes a time when political authority is absent in the ummah, how will the ummah run its affairs? And the third last pillar is about absence of the religious authority. If after political authority we move to religious authority, we have the scholars who take the position or who fill this gap and they lead the ummah. If we even if this religious authority also is absent or it goes into decline, how will the ummah run its affairs? So this second pillar about absence of the political authority and third pillar about absence of the religious authority takes the core of this work. And it is the purpose of this work explained by Imam al-Juwayni himself in the Muqaddimah. And he says the first rukun about the general guidelines and principles of political system in Islam are basically as a foundation for the second and the third pillar. The Realpolitik of Imam al-Juwayni manifests itself in the second and the third pillar. So we see a lot of compromise with the reality and supporting or advocating the positions which are not usually accepted as maybe the mainstream or the ideal positions in Islamic political thinking. And in that, in explaining this mas'ala, he also laments against or talks against those scholars who have fallen into blind imitation, who have closed their minds and they no longer think, they no longer take original positions and apply ijtihad, free ijtihad, independent ijtihad. So he claims that in this work, I have taken some dare or non-orthodox positions in order to solve the problems of the ummah or give a solution. This is the compromise. However, you will not see a Muslim scholar compromising completely on morality and religion. This will not happen because our political theory and thinking is based on religion. Religion is the main catalyst. Okay, so these ethical trade-offs and compromise in Machiavellian thought, and when it is applied on ground, may transgress all limits, like we see in the modern Western political regimes. So maintaining the stability of a government may be on the expense of destabilizing all other regimes in the world. So you become a parasite. In order to live, you kill others. In order to maintain your stability, you prey on others. In order to earn money, you create wars. And this is a reality. If you read about the warfare in the world and the war machine which has been unleashed in this century by the West, you will see economic reasons were the main catalysts in this warfare. So in the past, they used to manufacture weapons for wars. Now they manufacture wars to sell their weapons. Weapon industry is also another reality. So you may transgress all limits, because morality, you don't have any hurdle. No religion, no morality. So in order for my stability, I will destabilize everyone. To live, I will kill others. To earn money, I will destroy everyone around me. And this is what the Western regimes are doing. And in this particular Palestinian conflict, now everyone has been exposed. It's very clear. This is the fruit of Western liberalism. Okay, but this cannot be accepted or adopted and applied by a Muslim political thinker. However, at the same time, we must understand the importance of compromise, the importance of taking these difficult decisions, the importance of ethical trade-offs. Okay, balance. So we don't go to the extreme, the Machiavellian thought and the West, in which we don't care about morality and religion anymore. Our only concern is me. Okay, now you can see how this idea of ego, which was the catalyst for maintaining stability, ego of a human being, was transformed or transferred to ego of a ruler or the political system. Now the political system is running to satisfy its ego, to satisfy its concerns. So we don't go to this extreme, and we don't go to the other extreme where we don't know the art of compromise. We have ideals, we have principles, we have the utopian thinking, and either we apply it as a political system or we don't accept anything less than that, which eventually becomes, it loses practicality and we face losses on the ground. So we have to learn this art of compromise while maintaining this, while maintaining the religious and the moral codes we have. So we gave some examples about the compromise or this realpolitik in the thought of Imam al-Juwayni. For example, the second pillar, al-Rukn al-Thani here, is about al-Qawlu fi khuluwi al-Zamani an al-Imam, the absence of the Imam, the Khalifa. So if Zaman, if a time comes when we don't have any Imam, how will the Ummah run its affairs? This is the question. And in that, he talks about three important matters. Number one, في تصور انخرام الصفات المرئية جملة وتفصيلا. Explaining or understanding the sifat, the qualities of an Imam. So Islam has given us some ideal qualities which should be present in Imam, in Quran and Sunnah. Now, if these qualities are not present or some qualities are missing, what should we do? They can be missing jumlatan, altogether, or some of these qualities are missing. Number two, في استعلاء مستول مستظهر طول وشوكة وصول. If we have a despot, so in a particular Muslim political system, a despot comes and he takes the political authority by force. How should we deal with this despot? Can his authority be accepted? Because he has taken it, even by force, if he fulfills the basic qualities of justice and other qualities which are important in a ruler, or should we reject him because he does not fulfill the ideal criterion, which is a ruler should come by selection by the free opinion of the Ummah. Because in his times, the rulers would come by force also. So what should be our position in that? Number 3, في شهور الدهر جملة أنوال بنفسه أو متول بالتولية غيره. If we have, we can imagine a time when we don't have a wali, a governor, who rules by himself or is appointed by the Khalifa. So what should be our position, and how should the Ummah run its affairs in those times? Now, this is the compromise. And in this, Imam al-Juwayni, the positions he has taken can be called realpolitik, because he has taken the non-orthodox positions. So, for example, if we take the first question, which is في انخرام الصفة المعتبرة في الأئمة. If we have rulers who don't fulfill the basic sifat, basic conditions and qualities of being a ruler according to Quran and Sunnah, but they have that kifaya, they are kufu, they have the capability of running the government. So should we accept it? He says, of course, yes, we can ignore the qualities. It is not a problem. So, for example, the quality of being from Quraysh, which was accepted by all political thinkers, and some of them have even quoted ijma' on it. The Khalifa should be from Quraysh. He says we can ignore it. It's not a problem. The quality of being from Quraysh, the quality of lineage can be ignored for the effectiveness of a ruler. So if the ruler is effective, he knows how to rule, he is just, he can maintain stability, he can create a good government, he is not from Quraysh, it's not a problem. Okay, this is one example. And he talks about that in details. So, for example, he says, listen to this, he says, وَلَوْ فُرِضَ فَاسِقٌ بِشُرْبِ الْخَمْرِ أَوْ غَيْرِهِ مِنَ الْمُوبِقَاتِ. If we imagine a ruler who is a sinner, fasiq, because he consumes alcohol, وَغَيْرِهِ مِنَ الْمُوبِقَاتِ, and other major sins. So we have a ruler who is a drunkard, and he is involved in other clear major sins. وَكُنَّا نَرَاهُ حَرِيصًا مَعَ مَا يُخَامِرُهُ مِنَ الزَّلَّاتِ وَضُرُوبِ الْمُخَالَفَاتِ عَلَى الذَّبِّ أَنْ حَوْزَةِ الْإِسْلَامِ. But in spite of these big mistakes and sins, we see him concerned about defending Islam, defending the Muslim state, defending the borders of the Muslim state. مشمرا في الدين لانتصاب أسباب الصلاح العام العائد إلى الإسلام. And he is very keen in creating an atmosphere or taking the means to create a salah, good for all Muslims in that state. وَكَانَ ذَا كِفَاءَةٍ, and he has the capability, he has kifaya, he has the actual capability of ruling this land. وَلَمْ نَجِدْ غَيْرَهُ, and we don't find a better person who fulfills all the qualities. فَالظَّاهِرُ عِنْدِي نَصْبُهُ مَعَ الْقِيَامِ بِتَقْوِيمِ أَوَدِهِ عَلَى أَقْصَى الْإِمْكَانِ. So according to my opinion, it is better to appoint him as the Khalifa. Subhanallah, if he's a drunkard, he is into all major sins, but he is capable, he has the basic capability, and he defends Islam. This is what we call realpolitik, compromise. I only want to explain the idea. Otherwise, some examples may be irrelevant because the times have changed. However, if we understand the principles, we can understand the political reality in a better manner. The second chapter is, for example, al-qawlu fi zuhuri musta'adin bi-shawkati mustawlin. A ruler who takes the political authority by force, which in principle is rejected, because the government in Islam is like elected government, right? But he says, now if this happens, what should we do? So for example, فَأَمَّا إِذَا كَانَ الْمُسْتَظْهِرُ صَالِحًا لِلْإِمَامَةِ. If this mustadhir, despot, the one who takes political authority by force, is صَالِحًا لِلْإِمَامَةِ, if he is fit for imama, for this political authority, he is fit as a khalifa. وَلْيَكَ الْفَرْضُ فِيهِ إِذَا كَانَ أَصْلَحَ النَّاسِ لِهَذَا الْمَنْصِبِ. So for example, we can also imagine that he is the best candidate for this post. فالقول في هذا القسم ينقسم قسمين. We will divide it into two types. أحدهما, the first type is أن يخلو الزمان عمن هو من أهل الحل والعقد. We will say, if in that time we don't have the people who represent the ummah, we don't have أهل الحل والعقد. والثاني أن يكون في الزمان من يصلح للعقد والاختيار. Or we may have these people who are fit for representing the ummah. So he says these are the two situations we may face. فإن لم يكن في الزمان من يستجمع صفات أهل الاختيار. So if we don't have, if in a particular time we don't have people who represent the ummah, وكان الداعي إلى اتباعه على الكمال المرئي فإذا استظهر بالقوة وتصدى للإمامة كان إماما حقا. So in these times we don't have a better option. We don't have people who represent the ummah by a free election, and there comes a person who takes the political authority by force. كان إماما حقا. He will be considered a truthful imam, a khalifa. Rightful, not truthful, rightful imam. وهو في حكم العاقد والمعقود له. So his authority will be accepted as we accept the authority of a ruler who is elected by free election. Why did he compromise on the principles? Because of practicality. He says the purpose is stability, the purpose is justice, the purpose is implementing Islam, the purpose is defending the Muslim lands. If he does that, he has the capability. Khalas, we have the purpose. We can compromise on the sifat. We can compromise on the principles. It's not a problem. And if we don't do that, also the concern of Imam al-Juwayni is avoiding the harm. So if we don't accept this reality and compromise with the ideal principles of political system, the ummah may face harm. If we don't have imam, we don't have the political authority, ummah may fall into anarchy. And then he also talks about multiple imams. If we have more than one khalifa, can the situation be accepted or not? And in that also, the compromise becomes very clear. And another example, I think I pointed to that, is his nasiha to Nizam al-Mulk. And in fact, he literally instigates, in a very subtle manner, he instigates Nizam al-Mulk to take the authority from the Abbasid Khalifa. Now imagine Nizam al-Mulk is a small wazir, and Abbasid Khilafa is a big Khilafa with great legacy. But when in his times he saw Abbasid Khilafa crumbling and in decline, and Nizam al-Mulk, who was a non-Arab, he is not from the family of the Prophet ﷺ, he is not even an Arab, doing better than the Abbasid Khalifa, he guided Nizam al-Mulk to take the authority from the Abbasid Khalifa. You deserve to rule the Muslim lands because of the kifaya, because you have the capability. And in fact, there is a chapter in this book about the ruling on Hajj of Nizam al-Mulk. Is it permissible for Nizam al-Mulk to go for Hajj in this situation? Imam al-Juwayni says, no, it's haram for you to go for Hajj, because Hajj would take a lot of time. Leave the political authority and leave the political affairs and the problems the Ummah is facing, particularly the Seljuki government, which was the Seljuki state, which was leading the Ummah and fighting on different fronts. leaving it and going for Hajj, he says it's haram, it's not permissible. Okay, so he has this beautiful chapter about the ruling on Hajj for Nizamul Mulk. He also talks about Imamatul Mafdul, the political authority of a Mafdul. When Fadil is present, Fadil, yani a more virtuous, a more capable, or fulfills the qualities. But Mafdul, a ruler who is not as good as Fadil, but his imama will help the ummah to recover, or his imama is better for the ummah. So he has this chapter about Hajj of Nizamul Mulk. Yes. متى يجوز لنظام الملك الحج. Subhanallah. See this understanding of Imam al-Juwayni on page 456. Yes. متى يجوز لنظام الملك الحج. When is it permissible for Nizam al-Mulk to go for Hajj or perform Hajj? So he says in his eloquent Arabic, because as I said, this book is primarily on political theory, but its Arabic is so great that scholars of Arabic language read it to taste the eloquent Arabic of Imam al-Juwayni. So he says, when the stability is reached, when the problems of the ummah are solved, and all these political affairs are fall into their place, after that it is permissible for Nizam al-Mulk to go for Hajj. Okay, so he gave this fatwa to Nizam al-Mulk that you cannot go for Hajj. Fixing the problem now and leading the ummah is more important than going for Hajj. That's why, see, they had great understanding. Sometimes when we talk about the Saudi, I talked before a couple of years, I had a discussion with a local scholar back home. We were discussing about the problems in the Saudi regime and how they have fallen into the Western bloc and so on and so forth. He said, well, but they have great contribution also. I asked him, mention one contribution of Saudi government and Saudi regime. They said, see the Qur'ans they're publishing and printing and distributing in the world. Subhanallah, this is poor understanding or zero understanding, ignorance. The ruler, King Fahd, because on his name they have this mujamma of printing the Qur'ans. The responsibility of the ruler is not to print Qur'ans. We can print Qur'ans by ourselves. It's not a problem. He is not there to give us lessons on Islamic affairs and knowledge. This is responsibility of the scholars. The primary responsibility of the ruler is to implement Islam, is to create Islamic political system. You're not there to print Qur'ans, ya akhi. This is a problem. So like in the fatwa to Nizam al-Mulk, Hajj is a great ibadah. And Nizam al-Mulk deserves to fulfill this ibadah. He'll be asked about this ibadah in front of Allah. But Imam al-Juwayni said, no, wait. This is not your primary responsibility. This is your personal affair. You want to perform Hajj, but you are not an individual. You are responsible for the ummah. You are a very important wazir at a very important post in political hierarchy. The ummah needs you now. Forget about Hajj. You can do it later. Or even if you don't do it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not ask about it because you were busy with more important things. So it is not permissible for you to perform Hajj now when the ummah is in shambles. So حكم خروج نظام الملك للحج. Because the responsibility of a ruler and political authority is great. He's not there to print Qur'ans and to pray Salah and give the Jum'ah sermons. So we had these great khulafa who were scholars and great rulers at the same time. The early rightly guided khulafa, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. They were scholars, they were rulers, they were great noble souls. But after them, there was a divide between the political and the religious authority. Now we have to define the concepts based on that. So Imam al-Juwayni goes into details explaining the purpose of Hajj, in all the rites of Hajj, and how these great this great purpose of Hajj and the wisdom behind Hajj can be fulfilled in a better way by leading the Ummah now and staying in the political hierarchy and facing the challenges. SubhanAllah. So he said, wait, you cannot go for Hajj. حكم خروج نظام الملك للحج. And as I said, Nizam al-Mulk himself was a great scholar, politician, diplomat, and he compiled works on politics. His work, Siyasat Nameh in Persian, has been published, and it has been translated into Arabic as well. So these are some important masail from Al-Ghiyathi. Of course, we cannot go into the details about this book. It is a very rich work by Imam al-Juwayni, who was ahead of his times in the vision. And as we explained previously also, he lived in 5th century, and immediately after he left this dunya, great calamities fell on this ummah, like the sack of Baghdad, we lost Spain, so on and so forth. So he was a great visionary. Okay, that's why we said the main contribution of Imam al-Juwayni, if it can be summarized in one term, is fiqh of future. Theorizing for future of the ummah based on understanding the history, the present times, and also expectations for the future. So these great scholars, they would work, think about the future of the ummah, theorize for future of the ummah, and also discuss about the practicality, compromise. And this is what we call Realpolitik. Inshallah, we will conclude our discussion about al-Imam al-Juwayni and Niccolo Machiavelli here. And in the coming sessions, we will take some more important political thinkers like Imam al-Mawardi, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, al-Imam al-Ghazali, and try to conclude in 2 or 3 sessions, inshallah, this important component of Islamic worldview. But I advise everyone, if you know Arabic, or if there is a translation available, to read these books and compare, do a comparative analysis, which is very good in understanding these matters, like The Prince of Machiavelli, which is a short treatise. It is not a lengthy text. And Al-Ghiyathi of Imam al-Juwayni. I don't think there is a translation available. And the Arabic is very intense and very eloquent, because it is from the last works of Imam al-Juwayni, which he compiled for Nizam al-Mulk. But if you can find a teacher who, in front of whom you can read this work, Al-Ghiyathi, or try to learn Arabic in order to reach these gems and pearls and original sources, it would be good. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala nusrah and izzah for the ummah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by his beautiful names and exalted attributes to cure our sick and forgive our dead and accept our martyrs. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept the martyrs in Gaza and free Palestine from the oppression and aggression of Jews, and free all occupied lands, including Kashmir and other lands, from the occupation of the kuffar. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to, He is Rabbul Mustadafin, He is the Rabb of weak. Oh Allah, we are weak. We ask strength from you. We ask quwwah from your quwwah. Make us strong. Help us lift ourselves individually and give our contribution in lifting of the ummah and revival of the ummah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us understand our Deen and apply our Deen in our lives. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by His beautiful names and exalted attributes to forgive our mistakes which we commit in explanation and interpretation of His religion. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this ibadah of seeking knowledge from us. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Wa sallallahu ta'ala ala nabi al-ummi. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.